Wow, so Dwight Howard is actually a member of the Houston Rockets. What's going on, everybody? My name is Ralph, but here to do a quick take, really, the post the Dwight Howard trade talk, and how I feel it affects, the rest of the other teams in the Western Conference. Sort of like the trickle down effect after moving one big piece to a different place. Um, if you're a fan of the NBA, of course you're very ecstatic, when a superstar, and I use that word, with caution. But when a big piece like that moves to another team, it becomes very impactful. When you sort of kind of, you dream about how the league is going to look next year. Um, if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder or the San Antonio Spurs, obviously you have some issues to worry about. I mean, San Antonio, I believe, is going to always deal with the same, same issue, which happens to be age. But at the same time, they're going to be, they're going to be very prominent, um, and and discussed about when it comes to teams likely to be in the championship next year. Because as they age, I personally, as they age, I think they get better. I don't know why, but that's just what it is. Um, the Kawhi Leonard has become, an individual who I really love his game very much. I think he's become somebody to watch for the next few years, especially being coached under Greg Popovich. I mean, this guy has blossomed and looks very promising. But anyway, back to my team, which happens to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Um, wow, I feel like if you're OKC, your issue is really still the interior. I guess the interior part of it all. We still don't have a center. I mean, Kendrick Perkins hasn't really done much lately. If I mean by lately, I mean really hasn't been really that impactful. Um, so having going against a team like Houston now, them having a post presence, and once again, that's also something that's very touchy because the White's post game really hasn't really developed much. I mean, he really relies more just on athleticism and power. Well, I have found it very hard to pronounce that word, but just that's what he relies his game, solely on. But being in Houston, I guess now he's surrounded uh, by staff and the great Hakeem, who's definitely likely to to help him and assist him and get into where he needs to be. But once again, as a fan of the Oklahoma City Thunder, uh, what I'm watching is really just really what I'm watching is just how one player could you really change it off really for us next year, and that player isn't Kevin Durant, isn't Russell Westbrook, isn't Serge Ibaka, but more Jeremy Lamb. This is a player which I've watched closely since college. Now, mind you, I went to Syracuse and he played for UConn. But yet, I've always been a fan of the Jim Calhoun teams, especially since the days of Ben Gordon and Emeka Okafor. So I've kind of watched his game, and when I look at him, man, this guy reminds me of somebody who used to be a player I used to cheer for dearly back in the '03, '04 years. And that player happens to be Tracy McGrady. Very smooth, skillful person. Um, Jeremy Lamb, sort of, if I had a player to compare him to, that's who I'm looking at. And I've watched him. Now, this year he didn't play a lot. I watched highlights from the D League, which looks like he was dominating. But once again, that's the D League. You sort of kind of want to see how his game transpired to the NBA regular season when he's going against some of the best players in the world. You kind of want to see uh, how his game really just his game matches up against them. So, but that's the player I'm really watching closely. I mean, this guy, if you saw him in the D League, you were really thinking in your heads, what was Oklahoma City Thunder doing? Not giving this guy more minutes. But from a business standpoint, and I guess from that standpoint, you sort of understand why Kevin Martin played all those minutes. I mean, you're paying the guy $13 million or so, I believe, that year. You sort of kind of want to put that player on the floor, and so it was understandable. But Jeremy Lamb is somebody that I'm watching closely because if he evolves into the player that I think he can be, and I don't want to even say all-star, superstar, and label him just yet, but he really, really just develop into to somebody who can really contribute to the team as a whole. Oklahoma City, once again, is still they're still right there, and so you sort of kind of want to see how this whole thing plays out. But I really want to hear what you guys think about it, and I really want to hear, what you guys, or who you guys really feel is going to be, the last two teams standing come, next playoffs, and just kind of, hear your take. All right, all right.